Welcome to the August 11th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com radio show. This is our 8th episode. We cover the full spectrum of blockchain, cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin, and in this show, we talk about some of the biggest stories. I am your host, Zachary, aka Space Marine.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This is Space Cadet. And Bitcoin's sitting at 62.90 this evening.
Yeah, Space Cadet, Bitcoin's a little higher than it was during the last show when Bitcoin was around 6,100, and Bitcoin went as low as $6,000 over the past day. And Bitcoin's been oscillating a lot. It declined from around 7,150 when this bear market, or whatever you want to call it, correction, the decline started. It was at 7,150, and Bitcoin's price has been totally bouncing around. It's been at around 6,600, and then it went down to 6,100, and then it went down to 6,000, and now today, it rallied all at once up to $6,500 before declining again to about $6,300 right now. Basically, there's not much indicators to what's affecting the market. It could just be whales causing rises and falls because there's not much big news anymore now that the Bitcoin ETF is off the table. The SEC has rejected the Winklevoss Bitcoin Trust ETF, and they have also stalled the VanEck Solid X Bitcoin ETF, and it appears they will stall it even further. So there's not much major news driving the market right now. Right now, the Bitcoin market is just going to depend on its ground game from its intrinsic qualities. Bitcoin ATMs are proliferating across the globe, as we talked about in a past show. And Bitcoin ATMs will allow new people to find Bitcoin by walking into a store and seeing that Bitcoin ATM. They'll get interested, they'll look on their phone what Bitcoin is, and they'll become Bitcoin customers. Also, Bitcoin ATMs facilitate more buying of Bitcoin, more trading of Bitcoin in general. It makes the market healthier. And besides that, Bitcoin has intrinsic qualities, such as cryptographic security. Not even the most powerful supercomputer yet can hack Bitcoin, but as we talked about, quantum computers might be able to hack Bitcoin in the future, but that's not happening anytime soon. If it happens, we'll warn you about it. That's years down the line. So right now, Bitcoin's totally secure. It's efficient. It could be sent anywhere in the world instantly for anything. You could send it to the most banned country in the world, like Iran, to buy anything you want, and no one could stop it. It's decentralized. In a bank, they would totally freeze your account if they don't like you. With Bitcoin, no one can freeze your account. And also, it's low fees. There's a story in the past where a whale, which is like a big Bitcoin trader, sent $300 million of Bitcoin for like 1 cent. That's how cheap Bitcoin is. No other thing. Not even the best bank account with the biggest bank with the lowest fees can even approach that. You'd still pay like $1 million, at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to send 300 million in any way. Therefore, Bitcoin will be going up long-term due to its intrinsic qualities. Some people are saying it's going to hit 50,000 relatively soon the next year. Some people are saying 100,000 in the next couple years. One person, or maybe a couple people, like John McAfee, are saying it's going to hit $1 million within the next few years. Regardless of who's right and who's wrong, Bitcoin is going to be going up because it's the best alternative, and it might be the best currency in the world, period. But it's the best alternative to fiat currency like the US dollar and the euro. And it might be the best currency in the world to do its decentralization and intrinsic qualities. Therefore, long-term Bitcoin will be going up. I have no fear from this bear market. It doesn't really mean anything.
Since you brought up John McAfee, he got the lamest award. Tell us more about this, Space Marine.
Yes, Space Cadet. For his BitFi wallet, he got the lamest vendor response CyberSec award. And I'm not sure exactly how these rewards work, but he got it. It might be more than once a year. But anyways, they were saying that the BitFi wallet is unhackable. But a couple hackers really messed with the wallet already. Basically, for this competition, John McAfee actually offered $100,000 reward in partnership with BitFi if anyone was able to hack the wallet. And then he got into a lot of arguments on Twitter and elsewhere about how, like, nothing's unhackable. They're saying this thing's unhackable, like the Titanic was unsinkable. We know what happened to the Titanic. And the same thing happened to BitFi. After this challenge where they challenged all the hackers in the world and offered them $250,000, which is like enough money to live for a very, very long time, if not your whole life, if you're smart with it. So yeah, hackers hacked it. They found a way. One of the hackers looked in there. The first one to hack it found that it's just like an Android phone inside there. He got the root access. He looked all around the phone. They couldn't find the private key. This challenge could only be won, according to BitFi, if they drained the funds from the wallet. But these wallets are special BitFi wallets. They cost $120 each, and the hackers have to buy them to enter the competition. And for some reason, 2 hackers got in their root access. With one of the hackers, the other one installed a video game inside BitFi's wallet.
Is that Salem Rashid, the 15-year-old prodigy?
Yeah, Salim Rashid's a 15-year-old and he hacked Bitfi's wallet, which doesn't give me much confidence in Bitfi. So yeah, 15-year-old was able to hack it. Maybe he's really, really intelligent, so the age doesn't matter. But yeah, 15-year-old hacked Bitfi. And neither of these hackers that thoroughly hacked Bitfi. Once you get root access when you're hacking, that's like game over. You win. But they didn't win the prize because Bitfi's challenge might not be real. They got the root access, which should give them the ability to get the private key. If you have root access to anything, you should be able to get that private key. But there might not be a private key in there. I'm just speculating. I don't know for sure. But it doesn't make any sense to me if people got root access and there's no private key. So I'm wondering how legit this challenge is. And everyone else is saying this challenge is totally not legit, especially the hackers that are owed the money. On to our next story.
The 18 billion IPO initial public offering.
Yes, Space Cadet. Bitmain, which is the largest manufacturer of Bitcoin miners in the world, they pretty much have a stranglehold on the Bitcoin mining market because they have the biggest facilities and the lowest prices. So when people get mining equipment, they usually go to Bitmain. There's a few others, but they don't even compete. Bitmain, apparently, it says in this study on CCN, and I'm going to be writing this up for Bitcoin News later tonight, basically they have $10 billion of revenue in 2018 so far, and they had $2.5 billion in 2017. So apparently, despite the market drop, Bitmain's revenues have been going up astronomically, and $10 billion is like a lot of money. They're the biggest crypto company in the world, period, based on this. But I'm going to look into this further later, and you'll see the article on Bitcoin News by tomorrow. Anyways, they had $1 billion funding round successfully. Like, they announced it. I wrote the article when they announced it, like, a couple weeks ago. They already successfully completed it. People gave them $1 billion of investment. But this isn't the biggest news. Like Space Cadet says, they're going for an $18 billion IPO. They're going to launch on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and go public. And that's why it's called an initial public offering. It's like an ICO, but it's for stocks. So anyways, they're going to put their valuation at $18 billion. That means the people that put in $1 billion of investment in the last round will get $118 for the stocks. And they've actually had past rounds of like $500 million recently. They've been getting lots of investment, billions of dollars total of investment in the past year before this IPO, in the past few months mostly. But now they're going to go public, and this will actually provide a great way for people to invest in cryptocurrency, even though it's not a direct investment. Essentially, if Bitcoin's market goes up, there's more demand for mining equipment. Bitmain makes more sales, their earning reports are better, their stock goes higher. That's how stocks work. And if Bitcoin's market goes down like it has been, there's less demand for mining equipment, since if it goes down too much, it costs more for electricity than to mine, and then people have to turn their equipment off, and then eventually it achieves an equilibrium this way. But if Bitcoin goes up, there'll be lots of investment in Bitmain. However, that's not Bitmain's only game. They're also big in artificial intelligence, which could be just as big as blockchain technology in the future once artificial intelligence really starts being intelligent enough to make a difference. Right now they're still building it. It's weaker than humans. But there's going to be a singularity point in the future where the artificial intelligence gets stronger than human brains. And at that point, the artificial intelligence could start building itself. And that will be quite interesting. And some people are saying, like, you know, it's kind of like the Terminator or the Matrix, like the robots will take over the world. Hopefully not, but we're not going to talk about that too much. But anyways, Bitmain's trying to be one of the biggest people in the AI field besides blockchain. So there's a lot to invest in here. It's an indirect way to invest in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, but it might be one of the best cryptocurrency stocks or cryptocurrency-related stocks in the world once it goes public soon on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Now for our next story.
Facebook might be making their own cryptocurrency. Tell us more about this, Space Marine.
Affirmative, Space Cadet. Facebook made a blockchain team led by David Marcus about a month or two ago. They created this blockchain research team. And now they have met with Stellar, which is one of the best cryptocurrencies if you want low fees. Bitcoin is fairly low fees usually, but Stellar is like absolutely going to be low fees forever. They're highly scalable. Their fees are way less than 1 penny. It's like 1/10 of a cent, or actually like 0.001 cents, something like that. So Stellar is probably the best blockchain and cryptocurrency setup to use if you want to make a cryptocurrency for micropayments, like what might happen on Facebook in the future. People could tip each other with something on the Stellar blockchain. Basically, Facebook's looking into making a fork of Stellar. They're going to make their own cryptocurrency based on Stellar, and then people could pay each other micropayments. They could give each other like a penny if they like someone's post, and then of course they could send each other $100 of cryptocurrency to a friend. They could tip each other over the Messenger and whatever other Facebook social platforms there are. They can use this cryptocurrency. It's not certain yet. It's not known, but Facebook has been meeting with Stellar. They've met with many other blockchain projects. And David Marcus is the leader of this team. He was on the Coinbase board, and Coinbase is the biggest cryptocurrency exchange headquartered in the United States, but he has just stepped down. And one Twitter commenter, Gagan Jain, says, "This is like Eric Schmidt stepping down from Apple's board prior to Android's launch." And I would tend to agree. There's no reason why David Marcus would have to step down from Coinbase's board. That's a great position to be in. Unless he's trying to avoid a conflict of interest, since Facebook might be about to launch their own cryptocurrency. And Coinbase would have an easier chance to list this cryptocurrency without any controversy over him being on the board of directors. They could list Facebook's cryptocurrency on Coinbase, which would massively accelerate it without any worries about a conflict of interest, since he has stepped down.
He might have a card under his sleeve, like an ace. David Marcus is an American entrepreneur of French and Swiss descent, and he's the former president of PayPal. Space Marine?
Yes, David Marcus is very capable. He turned the Facebook messaging app from a small thing into a huge thing, known to everyone as Facebook Messenger now. He's the one that really nurtured it and grew it. And like you said, he was on PayPal. He's one of the co-founders of PayPal. So he knows how to turn something big, and he's the right guy to be in charge of this. He has ties into the Bitcoin and blockchain world, and also ties into the Facebook world big time. So he could take that together, and Facebook could make a really powerful cryptocurrency with this. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing this now, like this potential for a Facebook cryptocurrency, is before Facebook had their nose up in the sky, they were looking down on cryptocurrency, they thought they didn't need it. Their stock declined by like 20% in one night recently. It was at $220 about, now it's at $180. It actually went down as low as about $170. So basically Facebook lost $100 billion, which is equivalent to the whole market cap of Bitcoin, but of course Facebook has a much higher market cap than Bitcoin, still hundreds of billions of dollars. But anyways, Facebook stock went down so much because their earning reports didn't meet expectations by a slight amount, but they also said in the future they expect their earnings to decline further. So now, like normal people, instead of being stuck up people, they're looking to do everything they can to make money so they keep their investors and their stock doesn't keep going down. And making a cryptocurrency is a way they can make a lot of money really quick. I don't think their cryptocurrency market cap's going to hit what Bitcoin is, but it could easily hit like $10 billion and bring them in billions of dollars of money that they need right now since they just lost a bunch of money. So I think that's what's causing this rapid acceleration of Facebook's advancement towards getting a cryptocurrency. The fact that they need to make money and they have to do everything they can to make money instead of saying, hey, we have the best thing, we make plenty of money, we don't have to do this. That's not true anymore. They could go the way of MySpace if they're not innovative. And blockchain and cryptocurrency is one way Facebook could be really innovative and reinvigorate themselves. On to our next story.
Yes, Space Marine. For our next story, Yale has performed a study that found the two most important indicators for the Bitcoin market. Tell us more about this.
Yes, Space Cadet. Yale says investor intention and momentum is the most important things for the Bitcoin price. And this kind of seems like common sense. I don't know why they had to have a study for this. But they're basically saying if the market's going down a lot, that's the momentum, then it's going to keep going down. And as a Bitcoin trader and investor and user for years, I've seen this. If Bitcoin is going down, it usually just keeps going down for a long, long time. Like a lot of people are saying we're going to get out of this bear market, whatever you want to call it. I don't call it a bear market because Bitcoin's way above what it was a year ago. But anyways, people are saying, oh, it's going to bounce back up to 20,000 or 50,000 soon. What I've seen in the past is Bitcoin is low. Like when it gets low, it kind of stays low and gets even lower for a long time. Like I'm talking years. And then it goes back up. And when it goes up for a while. So they're saying, yeah, there's momentum. When it goes down, it keeps going down, which is true. And when it goes up, it kind of keeps going up. But when it goes up, that's like a shorter period of time. Much shorter than the amount of time it goes down. Like Bitcoin will go up for like half a year. A year at the most, maybe. But more like half a year, it'll go up into a big rally. And then it goes down for years, like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. But then, inevitably, there's plenty of data showing this. Bitcoin goes up by an order of magnitude like every 3 years. And an order of magnitude is 1,000%, 10 times. So in the future, it's pretty much inevitable Bitcoin will go up 10 times higher than its past peak. But for the time being, and maybe the next year or so, we're probably going to be in this bear market based on the past, unless something huge changes. Like some people are saying, oh, institutional investment, something huge that's coming now. Maybe it is something huge, but it might come in the normal period of time. It might take another year or so before that becomes such a huge factor we hit like 100,000 all at once. And when Bitcoin rises, it really rises when it's the actual rally. So that might be coming in the future. Anyways, the next one is investor attention. And basically they're saying the news surrounding Bitcoin is what affects the price, which is like common sense. They're saying if there's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, the price goes down. But if there's really good news, it goes up. Right now, there's plenty of FUD. People on TV like CNN and like CNBC, CNBC had a fake Bitcoin funeral. They're like, oh, we're not covering Bitcoin anymore. But then they jumped in and said, no, this isn't the end of it. But anyways, yeah, there's a lot of people saying Bitcoin's dead, even though it's way higher than it was a year ago. And it would never die. Even if Bitcoin was $1, it wouldn't die. But that's besides the point right now. But yeah, Yale made this study and they found momentum and hype are the most important things. And this is kind of common sense. But Yale did it and they're really smart, so I'll go with that.
It's like rock and roll. It will never die.
Yes, Space Cadet. And now for our next story, which I'll go over briefly. The Chinese firm GSR Capital has signed a letter of intent to invest $270 million into the blockchain startup T0. And T0 aims to basically bring blockchain to Wall Street and fix Wall Street with blockchain. I don't really know how they're doing this. But anyways, it sounds like a good intention and it could be profitable if Wall Street firms and stock exchanges want to pick up this technology. So anyways, this might be the biggest one-time investment into a blockchain firm, $270 million.
And now for a last story, when I put cryptocurrency caps into perspective.
Yes, Space Cadet. There's something called the market cap, which is the price per coin times the total supply of coins. Like for Bitcoin, the market cap is $108.7 billion right now. It's gone up to as high as about $300 billion at the peak when Bitcoin hit 20,000, but right now it's $108 billion. And the supply is 17.2 million Bitcoins times the price, which is $6,300 right now. So that's how you get the market cap. And what I want to point out here is that Bitcoin's market cap is 108 billion, and the next closest is Ethereum, 32 billion, 33 billion. And I just want to put this in perspective. Basically, Bitcoin has by far the biggest market cap. The total cryptocurrency market cap supposedly is 214 billion. So Bitcoin is more than half, or just about half, of the total cryptocurrency market cap. And that creates something called the dominance percentage, the Bitcoin dominance percentage, and it has been rising. And I don't want to get too sidetracked, but Bitcoin's dominance percentage is at 50.8%. It's been like 5% lower than this. It's been slowly rising consistently the past few weeks. Regardless of the Bitcoin's price going down and up, the dominance has been rising, which means other cryptocurrencies total are declining relative to Bitcoin. And this is a good sign for a rally, because when Bitcoin's dominance percentage goes up and the Bitcoin price goes up, that's the sort of scenario you see during the biggest Bitcoin rallies, like the one that brought up to 20,000. During May, Bitcoin rallied 10,000 after going down to about 6,000 rapidly after the 20,000 peak. Anyways, when it went up to 10,000 in May, the dominance percentage was going down that whole time while the price was going up, and then that rally fell apart completely, and we're at where we are now. But anyways, if Bitcoin's price was to go up, and this dominance percentage was to go up, that's a good sign for a rally, but Bitcoin's price is obviously going down right now. Anyways, back to topic. Ethereum is pretty big, $33 billion, $32.8 billion to be exact. But it's still way behind Bitcoin. But obviously Ethereum is a good cryptocurrency to have your eye on and perhaps to invest in, because it's the biggest and perhaps first cryptocurrency that has decentralized apps via smart contracts. It was the first blockchain and cryptocurrency platform to introduce the smart contracts, which you could build the decentralized apps. Like you could build any sort of app on it, but it has blockchain behind it. That's how you create decentralized apps, which is DApps. Anyways, behind that is $12 billion for Ripple, and I really don't like Ripple. You can't mine Ripple. Most of the Ripple is owned by the Ripple Foundation or the company Ripple Labs. It's not really much. It's considered a cryptocurrency. I think the transactions are cryptographically secure, but it's like you can't mine it. It's centralized for sure. So I don't like Ripple. A lot of people would totally delete Ripple from any list of the top 10 cryptocurrencies. Behind that, Bitcoin Cash has less than a $10 billion market cap. I don't like Bitcoin Cash. It's just a copy of Bitcoin, and it's a bunch of people that are argumentative with the Bitcoin community, which doesn't really help anything. Beyond that, we have EOS, which is $4.5 billion, something else I really don't like. They're basically trying to be Ethereum. They had the biggest ICO in history, and they've been consistently declining since then in price, since they actually went public after the ICO. And they're trying to say they're better than Ethereum, but they're not. Their platform's totally centralized. They have something called block producers. These block producers can work together, and they have like a conference call every day, and they can decide to delete transactions and stuff, so they're not immutable. They've actually deleted transactions and frozen accounts and stuff already because they're the ones that produce the blocks, and they can decide what goes into the blocks. And that's bad. They could blacklist people, they could freeze funds. It's not good. So I wouldn't use EOS. But anyways, what I'm trying to do here is like say, hey, Bitcoin has like so much more money in it. It's actually decentralized and pure. And then beyond that, the top cryptocurrencies, and like the top 5 at least, besides Ethereum, Ethereum is good. But besides that, there's 3 cryptocurrencies in the top 5 that aren't very good that I would never invest in. And I've been an expert in this field since 2013. I would never invest in Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, or EOS. Beyond that, there's Stellar at $4 billion, and Stellar recently rose a lot and surpassed Litecoin, which is at $3.5 billion. Litecoin's good because it's like the Bitcoin of the script world. Basically, there's Scrypt, which is a mining algorithm that's easier for CPUs and GPUs, which is like what normal computers have, where people can buy the graphics cards and put them together on a farm and mine Litecoin or other script coins like Dogecoin. So Litecoin's like the Bitcoin, it's like the gold standard of the script world. Just like Bitcoin's the gold standard of all cryptocurrencies and the SHA-256 algorithm world. Stellar is good because it has very low transaction fees. It's highly scalable. We actually talked about that on the show already. It's extremely scalable. Maybe Stellar jumped up so much because there was some insider info knowing that they're working with Facebook. Now that I think about it, that makes sense. So we'll see what happens with Facebook and Stellar. And then there's Cardano, which is at $3 billion, and that's like another Ethereum copycat, but not quite. They say they're better because they use science, but doesn't Ethereum use science? That's basically all they say, how they're better. I'm sure they're good, but it's just like Ethereum, and I usually think the first one to come, like Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. There's plenty of cryptocurrencies that might be better developed than Bitcoin and just as decentralized, but everyone chooses Bitcoin. So just like that, I think everyone's going to choose Ethereum over Cardano, basically. And then there's Tether at number 9 with $2.4 billion. Tether is a way for people to use the US dollar in places where they can't use the US dollar. Essentially, you could use Tether in place of the US dollar, and it's tied to the US dollar. They have a bunch of dollars in a bank account, and somehow this comes out to it's a $1 price per Tether. So that's a very popular cryptocurrency. And then there's Monero at number 10. Monero is cool because Monero is the number 1 privacy coin. Bitcoin's fairly anonymous itself, but everything's on a public ledger. You could trace everything with Bitcoin. But Monero's privacy, I'm not exactly sure how Monero works because I haven't used it, but I've heard it's impossible to trace transactions pretty much, so it's better for illegal stuff, I guess. Maybe that's why it's so popular. But anyways, if you compare these things, Monero has a $1.5 billion market cap. Bitcoin has a market cap over $100 billion. And Bitcoin's just like by and far way ahead of all the other cryptocurrencies, even Ethereum. Ethereum's like a good number 2. So I heard the founder of Litecoin, Charlie Lee, say, you should have 1 Bitcoin before you invest in anything else. And I agree with him. Bitcoin is the gold standard of cryptocurrency. Investing in other things before you have a whole Bitcoin is pretty much pointless. Because Bitcoin leads the whole market. It's what created the market. And it's not useful to invest in other things until you have an entire Bitcoin. Because there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever. Put this in perspective, there's 7.5 billion people in the world, 300 million people in the United States. There's not a Bitcoin for everyone, but right now it's still possible if you have enough money to get a whole Bitcoin. In the future, it's going to be totally impossible once Bitcoin goes up to like $1 million. Like, I think John McAfee's right. Maybe he will save his manhood. He bet that he's going to eat it, his manhood, on live TV if Bitcoin doesn't hit $1 million by like 2022 or 2020, something like that. He might actually win the bet for his own sake. I hope he does. Anyways, Bitcoin's what the number 1 thing to invest in. It's way ahead. Like if you look at these market caps, there's all these other cryptocurrencies, and they all are barely worth anything compared to Bitcoin. So on BitcoinNews.com, we focus pretty much primarily on Bitcoin. We ignore these other things. Most of the other cryptocurrencies. Ethereum's important. Bitcoin's important. Beyond that, it's mostly noise. They're not going to mean anything in the future. They might be here now, but there's nothing intrinsically valuable about them versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin has all those good intrinsic qualities we already covered on the show. These other cryptocurrencies that are in the top 10 might not be anything in the future besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. And beyond that, there's like the top 100. There's plenty of money in those, but they might not be worth anything. Just a couple more to mention. There's like IOTA is the number 1 DAG, a directed acyclic graph cryptocurrency. And a DAG is different than a blockchain. It's easier to use in the sense if you're trying to store data. You only have to reference 2 past transactions to store your data versus referencing all the past transactions like you do with Bitcoin. Like with Bitcoin, you have to download all the past transactions in order to run a node and send transactions. And even if you're using like an online wallet, they have all the Bitcoin history in order to send your transaction. With IOTA, you only have to reference two things. It's better for storing data. So IOTA is the best DAG cryptocurrency. Maybe it'll be around in the future because of that. And then that's about it. There's nothing really particularly interesting besides maybe Dash, which used to be Darkcoin, which is the number one X11 coin. And then you have hundreds of cryptocurrencies beyond that are just small. Yet there's all sorts of hype surrounding each and every one. I'm just saying, put it in perspective. Bitcoin's over 100 billion. None of them are even close. Even Ethereum, which gets tons of hype, is way less than Bitcoin's market cap, and it's probably not going to approach it. Ethereum's market cap got close to the Bitcoin market cap at one point, and since then it has deflated. I don't think it's ever going to be the same price as far as market cap goes as Bitcoin. There's not going to be more money in Ethereum than Bitcoin. Thanks for listening to the August 11, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com radio show. That's all we have for you today, but we'll have another action-packed, full-spectrum show tomorrow on blockchain, cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin. And go to BitcoinNews.com any time of the day for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and blockchain news. If you read BitcoinNews.com, you'll be an expert on these fields in no time. I'm Space Marine, signing out.
And I am your co-host, Space Cadet. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.